Can a Christian make money while they're sleeping, or is that just another form of greed? Because depending on who you ask, passive income is either biblical wisdom or laziness dressed up as ambition. Some Christians will tell you that real work means active effort, that anything else is a shortcut that God never endorsed. Others will sell you a dream, screenshots of income, promises of freedom, very little reality. Neither answer actually helps you think clearly about this. So today we're going to ask a more honest question. Not how do I make passive income, but whether the principles behind building income that doesn't completely depend on your time can actually be consistent with how God calls us to handle what we've been given. That's a different question. And it leads to a better answer. Before we get into the biblical side, we need to be honest about what passive income actually is. Because most people have the wrong picture entirely. Passive income doesn't mean zero effort. In most legitimate cases, significant work, capital, or risk happened somewhere before the income became passive. The passive part comes after the active part. Not instead of it. A YouTube channel generates income passively, but only after months of consistent scripting, recording, and publishing before the first dollar appears. A digital product sells while you sleep, but only after someone researched the problem, built the solution, and spent time putting it in front of the right people. A rental property generates monthly income, but only after someone saved, purchased, maintained, and managed it. What we're actually talking about is building something of genuine value and then having that thing continue serving people and generating income with significantly less ongoing effort than a traditional job requires. That's a more honest definition. And it changes the conversation completely. Because when you frame it that way, the question isn't how do I avoid working? The question is how do I work wisely enough today that what I build continues to serve people tomorrow? And that is a deeply biblical question. Now I want to be careful here, because this is where a lot of faith-based finance content gets sloppy. I'm not going to tell you that Ecclesiastes was written as a passive income strategy or that Jesus was teaching dropshipping in Matthew 25. What I am going to do is look at the principles the Bible consistently teaches about stewardship, multiplication, and how we handle what God places in our hands, and ask whether building income-producing assets can be consistent with those principles. Ecclesiastes 11 verse 1-2 talks about casting your bread on the waters and giving a portion to 7 or even 8, because you don't know what disaster may come. The principle isn't specifically about passive income. But it does reveal something about how wisdom approaches resources: plant in multiple places, be patient, think beyond the immediate return. The parable of the talents in Matthew 25 is about stewardship and accountability, not a financial tutorial. But it does show us that burying what God gave you out of fear is not faithfulness. Multiplying it through wise action is. Proverbs 13 verse 22 talks about leaving an inheritance for your children's children. Generational impact doesn't happen through a single active income stream, it requires building things that outlast your daily effort. None of these passages are teaching passive income as a concept. But they do reveal consistent biblical values: diligence, multiplication, patience, long-term thinking, and responsible stewardship of what you've been given. And those values are completely consistent with building income-producing assets, as long as what you're building genuinely serves people, operates with integrity, and doesn't replace God as your source. So what does this actually look like practically? Here are 3 models worth considering, and I want to be honest about what each one actually requires. Model 1: Content assets. YouTube, a blog, or a podcast. You create consistently. Each piece of content becomes a permanent asset that keeps getting discovered. The honest reality: this takes time. The early months produce very little. But over time your library of content compounds in a way that a single video never could. Old content keeps bringing in new viewers. Watch time accumulates. Eventually that creates income. If I were starting from zero today with limited resources, this is where I'd begin. Not because it's fast. Because it's low cost and the assets compound. Model 2: Digital products. An ebook. A template. A course. A guide that solves one specific problem for one specific person. You create it once. You sell it repeatedly. Platforms handle the delivery. The honest reality: most digital products don't sell themselves. You still need to put them in front of people consistently. But once you have an audience and a product that genuinely helps, this becomes one of the most efficient income models available. Model 3, Scalable Services. This one is different from the first two, and I want to be honest about that distinction. Starting with a service, graphic design, thumbnail creation, video editing, copywriting, is active income. You trade time for money initially. But the path to semi-passive income here is building systems, templates, and processes that let you deliver more efficiently. Eventually, some of that work can be automated or delegated. This isn't passive income in the traditional sense. But it is a path from active to less dependent on your time income that many people overlook. Here's the thing I think most passive income content gets fundamentally wrong. Passive income isn't really the goal. Stewardship is. The real question isn't, how can I make money without working? The real question is, how can I steward my skills, time, and resources in a way that creates genuine value for people, value that doesn't completely stop the moment I stop working? That reframe matters. Because it keeps you focused on building something real rather than chasing an income number. And it protects you from the trap that catches most people who go down this road, building something fast and cheap just to generate income, rather than building something that actually serves people well. There's no guaranteed timeline here. I'm not going to tell you that month 6 looks like this and month 12 looks like that. Results depend on your niche, your consistency, the quality of what you build, and how well you understand who you're building it for. What I can tell you is that building anything worthwhile takes longer than most people expect and shorter than most people fear if they actually stay consistent. Galatians 6 verse 9, although Paul wasn't talking about YouTube or digital products, captures something true about this kind of work. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. The harvest is real. But it comes after a season of faithful work that produces very little visible reward. So, can a Christian build passive income? I think the more important question is whether you're trying to build something that genuinely serves people and can continue doing so beyond your direct hourly effort. If the answer is yes, the 3 models we talked about today are worth seriously considering. The passive part comes after the active part. Always. Work wisely today so that what you build can continue serving people tomorrow. That's the goal. That's stewardship. If this gave you a clearer picture of how to think about this, share it with one person who's been asking the same question. Subscribe to Purpose Driven Wealth for weekly content where faith meets real financial thinking. And drop a comment below. If you had to start with one of these 3 models today, which would you choose and why? I genuinely want to know where you are. This is Purpose Driven Wealth, where faith meets financial freedom.